So in the last video, I covered pretty much everything whenever it comes to canon or canonicity, its meaning and its reference point for like comic books or DC in general. And that was pretty much like the groundwork I needed to establish for this video, because a lot of those people who I was talking about before, including like a lot of the major scaling organizations that exist out there, believe in separate canon theory, which they don't think any of the canons exist in the modern day outside of the one that we're actively talking about since the last like major event. So today we discuss how DC decided to take a big old dump on that with the new comic called The New History of the DCU, and today we'll explore exactly how and why it ends separate canon theory for good, because there is only one canon in the modern day, and I hope you guys are ready to explore it. So just a quick intro for this one: like, subscribe, and even become a member, links down low. Let's get into it. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Lumos, there's no way you've been on something that all these major scaling sites have been goofing up on for years and have just totally been overlooking or something. There's no way that only you have come to this conclusion. Well, no, obviously it's not just me. There's a huge group in the fandom who have all come to this conclusion as well. They're just not the guys who run websites and stuff like that, right? So, that being said, let's establish exactly what's going on here. There's no way we can say there's separate canon theory in DC in 2025. It's dead. It's not even a conversation that's thinkable in the modern day. And this comic is definitively what proves that. And the important part about this comic is that there's essentially two halves. And in the first half, which I'm going to be covering, I'll just go ahead and cover first. In the first half, we get this entire thing with Barry Allen, where Barry Allen, who, keep in mind, has lost his powers in the modern day, is basically retired as a superhero. And he says, yo, I'm going to catalog everything I know about the multiverse because I like my history structured, and out of anyone in the multiverse, I've seen more of the past, present, and future out of anyone who's ever lived, so like I'm the guy who would know. So I'm just gonna write down all my thoughts. And the first half of this comic is the genuine thoughts of Barry Allen. And in this comic, Barry Allen, while going back to the origins of existence, he goes all the way back to the original Big Bang, which is essentially Perpetua creating her children and then starting the multiverse. That's right, everything in Scott Snyder's cosmology is the origins of everything, okay? So there's no other people believe stuff, there's no, Cosmic Armor Superman really was the guy the entire time. Look, it was Perpetua, okay? Look, Perpetua is the one who did it. And for all of my Vertigo fans out there who are like, oh, but that's not how it happened in Vertigo, well, guess what? Vertigo origins are also tied into this as well. We see pretty much every corner of DC touched up upon in Barry Allen's recap of things, including Lucifer, the Guardians of the Universe, the Green Lantern Corps. Like, he covers absolutely everything whenever it comes to this comic. And I mean absolutely everything, even down to really rare obscure villains and even really rare obscure heroes and their first appearances and things along those lines. And the important thing here is that we end actually not at the beginning of everything, but at the beginning of Superman's story. Which is obviously something that's like super core important to like the idea of DC. And of course, that segment stops and we continue in like the next chapter. And each one of these comics in the first half is always just Barry Allen's interpretations of things that happen. And as we said, he's one of the most well-traveled characters in the multiverse, right? And I do have to say interpretation, because Barry Allen has experienced a lot and he's been through a lot, but I'll admit there's some of these facts that sometimes are somewhat off. There's like slight wording, phrasing things that are like somewhat off, but don't worry, that's not exactly a problem. This isn't a new reinvention of like these stories that is a new timeline or anything along those lines. No, that is actually not the case, because in the back half of these, we actually get a lot more context. As Barry Allen's recap is the first half, the second half is the legitimate authors telling you what the truth is, okay? And I'll even read specifically what they say about this. The events chronicled by Barry Allen, which keep in mind is the first half of the comic, were grouped by themes into a cohesive narrative. What follows is the definitive timeline of the DC universe, its major events and crucial players. And so you think, okay, well that's really cool, man. We'll basically just get the same recap we got from Barry Allen, right? No, this is far more specific and far more extreme. In fact, I don't think I've seen another company in terms of comic books do something like this in quite some time, as we get the same rundown of history, but the difference here is they get very specific with their phrasing, and they even reference comic books throughout all of history, going back all the way to the dawn of the multiverse. And for example, the dawn of time and origins of the Source, Perpetua, the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and World Forger are detailed in Justice League 2018, number 22. The full roster of the Endless was established in Sandman 1989, number 21. The Silver City and its inhabitants were introduced in the Books of Magic 1990, number 1. So all of my Vertigo fans who say it's a separate canon, guess what? That's not true. It is all one canon that exists right here. And the same goes for every corner of the DC universe. The Malthusians renamed themselves the Guardians of the Universe in Secret Origins 1986, number 23. I mean, literally everything you could possibly imagine is given a reference point at the back of this comic, so you can go and explore those events if you want. And this is the history of the DC universe. So if they're telling you to go back and read comics all the way back to 1930s or 1920s, yeah, I can see 1936 right here, like, dude, there is no way that those things are not canon, because they're literally referencing those comics and those stories and the cosmologies at those times while they were happening. So this has all been one continuous story with the same cosmology, according to the creators and the current authors that are popping off. And these authors are guys who've been writing for DC for 30 plus years. I mean, Mark Waid was one of the guys who researched into this. So it's not like you can say that this isn't the case anymore. Now, the best part is we cover everything as you go on through the entire, I believe, 4 or 5 issue run. There's no side of the DC universe that is left uncovered, and we literally walk, it's 4 issues long, we literally walk all the way to the modern day of this comic book coming out, whenever it comes to like the events currently unfolding, as we talk about Lord Premier Tharos, which was the last Lantern villain that we just got done fighting. So that being said, the next time somebody looks at you with a straight face and says, oh, but separate canon theory, oh, but they're separate cosmologies, well, you can't really say that anymore. The current cosmology is stated as larger and greater than any that's been before, which, keep in mind, includes everything in this timeline, which is very important to note. So that's it, boys. It's the death of separate canon theory. There's no more Darkseid dreamed up Perpetua. They tell you the origins and where to go find it, like right here. It's as straightforward as it gets, boys. And I don't know, I'm loving it. I really hope DC decides to keep doing stuff like this as time goes on. But man, they probably won't even need to for like another decade or so, because like this is such a nail in the coffin to all these guys who are like, but you can't consider those the same, or they don't apply to the modern stuff. Guess what, guys? Not only did they confirm it in Death Metal, which is an inverse statement, which I hold very high, but now we have both inverse statements from Barry Allen confirming that again, more directly and more blatantly. But we also have the authors themselves blatantly saying, yo, this is true, with approval from editorial mandate. It's over, boys. GG. Separate canon theories dead. So if you guys really enjoyed the idea of disproving and debunking these silly ideas officially, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, guys, or even consider becoming a Theromax Corps member. I'm starting to slam out content again, and I'm not gonna lie, it feels good, homies. So sign up for that action, and we'll catch you in the next one, boys. Later.
Aftermath, you'll join my list of dead after I tear you in half. And I laughed at the thought of them controlling me. I'm the ultimate dragon that spawned everything. I resist and